He's just looking at Gabby and I, and he straight up said, "So do you guys have sex with other people?" And he was really just implying, "Hey, do you want to have sex with me?" In this video, we have a story time of when we were out one day and we were not intentionally trying to evangelize, but we were put in a very awkward position, and so that's what the story time is about. But we also want to share what we learned from this situation. And so it was just a normal day, and Gabby will go into that first, and then I'll explain some of the other major details.
Yeah, so at the time we were doing a discipleship class within our community, and so, we were hungry, so we're like, let's try Zaxby's for the first time. We had never had it.
It was good chicken, by the way.
It was really good, and good fries, and we haven't been there since. So we go to Zaxby's, and we're just sitting down, and I'm eating my food. Dylan goes to the bathroom. This man's staring at him, which he can explain in more depth, but this man seems to be trying to start a conversation with us. And that's where in my mind I'm like, okay, is this the Lord or is this a distraction? Because you never really know unless you ask him.
Yeah, so I was in the bathroom, Gabby was sitting at the booth, and she was facing the wall where I was sitting. So I would have been facing the man. He was sitting behind Gabby basically. And so I come out of the men's bathroom, and he's just like looking straight in my eyes. And so I didn't know what to think of it. It's not like, poof, oh, this is an evangelism moment. Like, Holy Spirit wasn't honestly speaking to me. I don't feel like it was one of those moments where I was led to talk to this man. And so when we look back at it, it was probably a distraction. And so I sit back down, and no more than 10 seconds later, he just starts talking to Gabby and I, and he's like, "So where are you guys from?" And just asking basic questions. And so that's when we did take the opportunity to start talking to him. We shared what we do.
Yeah, and it was actually going really well, and it was a long conversation.
And so it eventually got to the point where I was just straight up and like, "Hey, do you need prayer for anything?" And that led to him opening up about some of his struggles.
And honestly, I felt a little awkward in the moment because when he started opening up about these struggles, I didn't want to be in a place of judging him or having fear. But something in me was like, this doesn't feel right, because the certain struggles had to do with women. And I just felt like maybe he was looking at me a certain way in the midst of this.
And that became accurate. That's kind of where we're getting. But he struggled with like drugs, lust, all these different things. And I'm offering, hey, like, we could pray for you. We see people get set free. You don't have to stay this way. You don't have to struggle with these things anymore. It was one of those things where sometimes you evangelize with certain people, and there's people who just don't want to change. And a lot of times these are the people who say, why hasn't God set me free? Why am I still struggling? And it's because they're really just still holding on to these things. And so he's opening up, and all of a sudden it just gets really awkward. We brought up how he struggled with lust, and it got to the point where he's just looking at Gabby and I, and he straight up said, "So do you guys have sex with other people?" And he was really just implying, "Hey, do you want to have sex with me?" And it was very obvious. There's an awkward pause for like 10 seconds. And so
And he's an older man.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand. I'm like, how can you be so open with us about this? But you got to understand, and I don't know if we mentioned this already, but he was homeless. And again, I don't want to prejudge. Even after this testimony, Gabby and I were really asking ourselves questions. Should we be more cautious now, or should we be less cautious? Because there's people who can receive. There's homeless people who are just really struggling, and then there's the other side of that where people have bad heart motives. It's a scam, and some people, aren't obviously homeless. We see both sides of that.
Yeah.
And in North Carolina, the homeless problem is like major here. There's homeless people everywhere on the side of the streets asking for money. And so you have to be able to discern the spirits, because you don't know what's legitimate. And so with this guy, he's like, "Hey, do you guys have sex with other people?" And it was just so awkward. I'm looking at Gabby, she's looking at me. We just kept looking back and forth, like, at each other. And I'm like, as the husband, I know I was supposed to say something, but I just froze. It's like everything in my body just, like, I couldn't open my mouth. I didn't know what to say, because most men would have obviously reacted what they would call boldness, and they would be like, "How dare you say that to me and my wife," or blah blah blah, which is you still want to say that, but you got to be careful how you say that. And I didn't want to become that. I was weak because I didn't want this weird conflict, and I didn't really say anything. All we said was, no, we don't do that.
Yeah, I think that's all we said is no.
That's literally the one word we said.
So what would you say you learned from that?
I just think that's what Holy Spirit was talking to me about that day, was just speaking to me on, especially on how to be a husband, because I got to be able to defend that ground. I know that wasn't going to be the only situation where that happens, because we're living in community right now, and for example, there's a guy who, that's like his ministry. He prays for a lot of homeless people and stuff, and I don't want that to stop Gabby and I from being able to do that, basically, because people watching this video could comment. Like, I know there's some of you thinking, oh, you got to be careful who you pray for, it's dangerous. And I get it, we should be prayed up and stuff like that for anything, especially homeless people, new age shops and stuff like that. But at the same time, it shouldn't put fear in us, because it's going to stop you from God moments where you're supposed to actually pray for somebody.
I would say that's what I was learning too, was discernment, because in that moment when we first started talking to him, like, okay, Lord, is this you? Is this not you? Is this you? Is this not you? And I was kind of going back and forth, like trying to figure it out, because I didn't want to prejudge the man based on what I was feeling, and I didn't want to be in a place of fear, because I don't really struggle with fear. So I'm like, the fact that I'm feeling these things, is this fear trying to come on me, or am I just really discerning like his heart motive? Because it's important not to be critical on people, but God will show you things. And so for me, it was just learning that discernment of, okay, let's look out for these cues and let's learn from this moment.
I totally just forgot a part of this story that I just remembered now. And by the way, this is take 2, which is why I'm glad we actually filmed this again. The reason we filmed this again is because the first take, something was wrong with the lighting, and
technical difficulty.
Yeah, so I wanted to redo it, but maybe that was the Lord, because this part I just remembered. So this all happens, and literally like 3 days later, 4 days later, I'm working with my stepdad, Scott, and we're going to do this job. Basically, we had to go get gas at the gas station, and so we're at the gas station, and I see the man again. Like, how awkward, because he recognized me. We didn't end up communicating or anything, but he recognized me. My first thought is, how did this man get from this place all the way to this place? Because this was completely a different area in North Carolina. And if he didn't have a car or anything, I mean,
hitchhiked probably.
Maybe he just walked a lot, got a ride, I don't know. But again, it comes down to, like, I don't know how the whole homeless thing works. It's an area of my life, honestly, where I'm still kind of like, I really want to be able to discern it, because, for example, we'll be driving down the highways and there's people with signs, and it's like, Lord, I know I'm supposed to help people, but something just feels super off about this. Like, certain people, for example, you're like, you want to give this person money. There's another person, for example, this is a different story, but me and my stepdad would like see this person all the time, and they had like a knee brace on. But the one time we seen them in a different area, they didn't have that knee brace on. And we were kind of discerning that for a while. I think you know where we're getting at. But it's like, you don't know what's true sometimes. And so we just need the Holy Spirit to lead us in all situations, but especially with the homeless community, because you just don't know. And if that's harsh to people, well, I mean, and again, I'm sure we've all given our money to people that didn't use it for the good.
I've done it on accident too.
These are all different stories outside of it. This was just the first testimony in North Carolina together, like when it comes to evangelism, because we've prayed for people before, but this has never happened to us before, and I don't think it'll be the last time. It's not going to stop us from praying for people, but we're definitely going to have more discernment. And so, any last words, last thoughts? Nope. All right, if you guys want more videos like this, please comment down below. Also, if you have any stories similar, comment those down below. We'd love to read some of these. And we'll see you in the next video. Make sure you subscribe. We upload every Tuesday and Friday. Check out the links in the description down below. And we'll see you in the next one.